Diamonds Are Forever is the final Sean Connery James Bond entry into this franchise. So, after this review, we will be moving on to Roger Moore and his entries into the franchise. And this film is probably one of the worst of this era, because I think this film has a big problem where this film is technically a sequel to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but it can't really do that because Sean Connery didn't perform in Her Majesty's Secret Service. It was a different actor who was replaced immediately after him by Sean Connery, who left before he came in. So it's kind of like he was out in between Sean Connery and Sean Connery, and that film was technically a sequel to the previous film, which is You Only Live Twice, which was Sean Connery's last entry, but it still acted as a sequel, even though Sean Connery wasn't in the film. This film takes all the events that happened in that movie, and while it's still acting as a sequel, it isn't a sequel, because it makes vague references to the other movie, and they're still trying to track down Blofeld, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't work. Also, Sean Connery is not giving a very good performance, and this is also the most campy of the Sean Connery era James Bond movies, because, well, it just moves ridiculously slow, and it's very goofy, and it's absurd, and it's just like... So it's not a good sequel to the previous James Bond movie. Sean Connery isn't even giving that fun of a performance. It's not his worst performance. You Only Live Twice was. But at least You Only Live Twice was able to be so much fun that it didn't really matter. This film doesn't have that. And I think it hurts this movie quite a bit. I think it's one of the worst aspects about this movie. And yeah, I think it's just one of the worst James Bond movies to ever be made, honestly. I think it's not a terrible film. It's still watchable. It's still entertaining. But it's not enough to make me go, for anyone who wants to watch all the James Bond movies, of course watch it. But if you don't want to watch all the James Bond movies and you just want to watch the best ones, don't watch this movie. Don't do that to yourself. And I think that's where we're at with this one. So, join me next time as I start diving into the Roger Moore James Bond films, and then we'll get into some of the later James Bond films after that.